Hello, good evening, everybody. I would like to thank Lance Carlson, but he left, you know. He left me alone. Wow, what to do? And no, I want to thank you, Lance, for your very warm introduction. And I want to thank you, everybody, to be here this evening to talk about culture, about thinking of culture. I'm very proud and very pleased to be here in Calgary to think about culture, because here in Calgary, 4 months away, as told Lance, more than a year I was here, and I met this group and Lance, these people who he has decided to steer up culture. In the case of culture, steering it up and thinking about it strike me as two complementary and even sequential operations. You have to give to give to the culture a good steer first in order to think about it more productively. The latter depends on the former. They are like, the fox and the porcupine in the invective. It is a book of the Greek poet-soldier Archilochus. The fox knows many things, juggles many ideas, runs madly off in all directions, and is in danger of being misled by the merest hint. The porcupine, on the other hand, knows one big thing and clings to it. This evening, I hope, we shall endeavor to combine the agitation of the fox and the stubborn vigilance of the porcupine. On the one hand, we shall give our culture a stir. On the other, we shall strive to give it some thought. I'm very happy to be doing this in Calgary because I might say that it was almost a year ago here in Calgary that it all began for me. When I met Lance Carlson right here at the Epcot Center at Colin Jackson's invitation. At that time, I discovered people involved in critical debate concerning the relationship between cultural development and community advancement. People who are aware that today in our society, we need to show the value of arts. We need to play the role of translator. On that occasion, I recall Lance Carlson talked about a recent discussion with Robert Crampton at Heritage Canada that dealt with what Canada will present at the next World Expo in Shanghai, 2010. He said, not the products, but a way of thinking and dealing with things. I agree with that. I realized then that Calgary could serve as a key Canadian laboratory for the role of culture in social development, as the economic boom makes people hesitate between change and maintaining the status quo. The need to ponder, to think about culture, that is so clearly felt in Calgary is also a national symptom. It reveals an identical need that is Canada-wide townspeople and country dwellers alike. Ask us the same question. As individuals, we have identities, but what are we as a community? I think the time has come for Calgarians and all Canadians to take a risk, possibly a calculated one, and agree that the central challenge of the 21st century is the defense of the human environment. Culture is a vital component of it and must be defended and protected just as nature must be. That is the issue. If we want a world that is habitable for human beings, we all have a responsibility, because it is clear today that we have to draw a terrible lesson from the history of the 20th century. In all threats that hang over us, the one we should fear most, the only real one, is ourselves. That is what I'm forced to conclude as I prepare to undertake with you this reflection and debate about culture. To begin with, however, what are we talking about? Culture, of course. And the word is such a part of our daily lives that it seems obvious. In fact, we are so accustomed, to say everything is cultural, that we should clarify the use and meaning of the word before we go any further. So what is culture if it is not the momentum that drives humankind to greater humanity? Over time, in fact, culture seems to be what indicates progress in the humanization of human beings. If we go back to the etymological origin of the word culture in Old French, culture, its first meaning was religious worship and the religious practices and rites that bring people together around a shared belief, a worldview, what today we might refer to as fellowship. At the same time, the same word designates the process of imparting culture, of cultivating, the first step mankind took in transforming nature, namely agriculture. Thus, the cultivation of wheat, of potatoes, was the first example of how mankind put a human face on nature, making nature subservient in order to ensure survival of the species. Thus, cultivation or culture was both primeval and essential. Beginning in the 18th century, by analogy, culture came to mean human progress, the ascent of reason and enlightenment, and hence the advance of knowledge and critical thinking. It was in the English language that the word would assume its contemporary meaning, particularly with the development of anthropology, which used it to designate the ways, belief, modes of expression, behavior, and customs of societies and peoples. Today, for the purposes of our discussion, I would say that culture is a shared asset in the same way air, water, and all natural resources are. It is central to modern society in many different forms. It might even be added that we can no longer measure the success of a country, of a province, a city, or a community of any kind by its economic achievements alone. More than ever, the development of a culture that is the greater humanity essential to a shared life together contributes not only to individual well-being, but also to economic growth and success.